Welcome to another edition of Dogger Pass Podcast. This for UFC Vegas 42. I'm Paul Shaughnessy. Matt's back on the sticks, and on the line, we've got the man who saved my bum life from having another losing night at UFC 268. It's Cody Saftic, hitter of 13 of 14 plays, multiple legs of the parlays. Saved me from having quite a devastating loss. I mean, Gaethje versus Chandler, how did that not end? There were a lot of things that worked, I was like, oh, why would you even bet the Gaethje money line? That doesn't make any sense. Well, that was the iteration that came through where somehow nobody dies. Insane. But Cody, your parlays made me have quite a good night. I mean, when you have Chris Curtis, the action man, in line 4 of the parlays, all of the haters, not really, there's not too many haters, but all of the people are going, oh my God, a plus 275 in line 4 saved a lot of people's bum lives this past Saturday. So thank you.
Well, Paul, a lot of people always say, geez, all you guys do is take the favorites and you take big favorites and you try to parlay them together. The game plan is the same every event. Try to sniff out the apple pie shitter. And generally, we try to sniff them out and we move them lower on the parlay so that if they do shit in the apple pie, it doesn't affect too much. In this case, we were right on. It was Phil Haas. Phil Haas was a bigger favorite than Kamaru Usman. Phil Haas was a bigger favorite than Justin Gaethje. Phil Haas was a bigger favorite than Pereira or Jacoby. No, Jacoby was a bigger favorite. All the same, he was amongst the biggest favorites of the week. So to be able to sniff him out and to actually fade him, go the other way, Chris Curtis added just a crazy amount of value. So yeah, we hit 100 to 1. That's perfect. We're looking to hit these all the time. Unfortunately, it's very difficult. And you go from an awesome UFC 268, world-class competitors, top to bottom, to now talking about Felicia Spencer versus Leah Letson as a main card fight on this free offering. So we get back to it. But I do say myself, a weatherman, and a 300 average ball hitter. Only guys that can get it right a third of the time and still come out profitable. So, we're happy when we hit the hundreds to 1. That gives us a little bit of leeway. Goal is to hit again, but at least we got a little bit of money to work with.
And if Ally Aquinta, I mean, it wasn't even close, but if Ally Aquinta had won, people should be counting their lucky stars right now. Because I don't know if Cody would be on the line right now. I may have called in sick because I'd be off on a yacht somewhere, But that was like a 3,000 to 1 parlay if Al had hit. Like it was absurd the amount of money that would have been won. So
if fight goes the distance,
we all would have lost our sportsbook accounts because they're just like, I am not taking this kind of damage from these guys. So maybe a blessing in disguise. I'm half kidding. I mean, the amount of money that would have been won. It would have sent ripple effects through the gambling community, I imagine.
But you know what?
That was the most absurd parlay to hit ever with Chris Curtis 270 plus 275 in line 4 plus all of those other ones. Yeah, that full PRP was insane odds. I don't know what it was off the top of my head, but it would have been absurd the amount of money that was won.
Yeah, but I always say I never complain about one single person, a bad bounce here or there, because in the grand scheme of things, we got the bounces that we needed, right? Ally Quinta at the end of the day ended up being insignificant. I will admit, though, thank you for bringing this up. Don't fucking message me. Don't hit me up on Twitter blaming Ally Quinta for some misfortune that you had. I don't care. It's not his fault, okay? The fight to go the distance was minus 270. Everyone thought it was going the distance. He got caught, right? Don't tag him in posts saying he cost you a bunch of money, right? None of that's cool. And don't fucking hit me up and be like, I can't believe you didn't pick Bobby Green. Just pick on the car. Fuck off, man. So we got 12 of 13, right? And we're happy.
13 of 14. So,
yeah.
Let me just pull up the old trusty calculator here. 13 divided by 14 is 92.857%. If you're not happy with 92.857%, I don't know what to tell you. And yeah, tagging fighters after you lost, it's like, do you think they don't feel bad?
Right. Like, nobody feels worse.
He wanted to go out there, get a knockout, get a of the night bonus, and then, he's got tons of money, but like losing means you get half of your pay, no bonus, obviously, because you lost. unless it's fight of the night, but obviously it wasn't fight. Don't ever tag fighters. One, they shouldn't have to care about your bets. Two, I assure you, they don't care about your bets, and you just come off looking like a jerk.
Well, the same thing goes for Phil Hawes, right? Anybody knows I have a strong dislike for Phil Hawes. You know it better than anybody. Why do I dislike him so much? Don't know, but I do not like Phil Hawes. Someone pointed out his Instagram. Like, what? Lay off. Lost a fuck. You cost me money. He ain't cost you shit, right? Should have listened to Dogger Pass and you could have avoided it. So hopefully we can sniff out the pie share this week, buddy.
All right. We got Max Holloway taking on Yair Rodriguez in the main event of UFC Vegas 42. Yair Rodriguez is a minus 720 favorite. Max Holloway is a minus 720 favorite. Yair Rodriguez can be had for plus 500 at DraftKings Sportsbook. All of the lines that I will mention over the course of this episode are from DraftKings Sportsbook. I mean, Max Holloway throws volume at a rate that is pretty much unparalleled in the UFC. His durability is on a different level. You kind of have to be able to mix in the wrestling to really have a chance against him because he just piles it on. And as the fight goes on and his opponent slows down, he just keeps piling it on. Against Qatar, he had like 400 strikes like landed in that fight. Like, just absurd. So it's hard to, is Yair Rodriguez going to knock out Max Holloway? Probably not. Can he keep the pace with Max Holloway? Probably not. Do I really want to bet minus 720? Not really. So I almost feel like I'm just priced out of it. I think Max Holloway's going to win. I think he wins on volume. The over-under 3.5, it's starting to move. Minus 175 to the over 3.5. It's like, if he lands 250 shots by round 3, like maybe he gets him out of there before that. So I feel like this whole fight is pretty priced accurately. I mean, are you giving much of a shot to Yair in this spot? Like, I mean, at minus 720, it's almost kind of dog or pass, and it's straight up pass for me. But Max Holloway's the pick. I think he wins. Probably in like rounds 4 and 5. Maybe he gets him out of there, but I wouldn't be shocked for it to go to decision either. Just a tough one to cap in general. They probably got it right. What's your take here?
Yeah, how often do you see on a UFC card? I mean, Bellator, you see it all the time. How often on a UFC card do you see a 7-1 favorite on the card? Like, very, very few and far between, right? Matchmaking usually doesn't lead to a matchup like that. And then especially in a main event, it's a 7-1. So yeah, pretty crazy. I don't know who's got bigger balls. Yair Rodriguez for accepting this fight with Max Holloway, or Dana White for trusting Yair Rodriguez to show up to this fight with Max Holloway. Because if it falls off, you got Ben Rothwell versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima as a main event, and your co-main event is now Felicia Spencer versus Leah Letson. Like he already dodged out of this fight once. He has not fought in 2 years. He's got a spotty reputation for being reliable. Like, it could go sour really fast. I agree with you, though. How do you bet against Max Holloway? Listen, I made that mistake when I went and took Calvin Kattar over him last time out. You know, the narrative there is if you look at Holloway, yeah, world-class operator, fights the best guys in the world, but he took an absolutely life-changing beating against Dustin Poirier. In both Volkanovski fights, lots of damage. There's lots of damage that this guy sustains. I don't know. Maybe I just kind of bought into my own narrative that Max Holloway was getting a little bit long in the tooth. When you're fighting the best guys in the world all the time, and now you're starting to come up short, how do you get motivated for a fight with Calvin Kattar? And by the way, Calvin Kattar is as crisp as they come. He's still ranked like 5th in the division, but his technical boxing is amongst the best in the UFC. So if this is going to be a strictly stand-up battle between him and Max Holloway, why couldn't he be in it? But there's an episode of Futurama. I think everybody on the cast gets like $100 or something. Fry decides to use his $100 on buying 100 $1 vending machine coffees. And on cup number 100, he hits like this like God mode where everything around him just freezes. And only he's moving in super speed and everybody else is just like moving at 1%. That's what Max Holloway hit against Calvin Kattar. Like the fight metric numbers would tell you that he landed 445 significant strikes. I don't know what the record is. I would assume I've not really seen too many guys land. No, that's the record. But what was the record previously?
I think it was him versus Ortega.
300 doesn't exist. Well, 400 certainly doesn't exist.
I think his previous record was him versus Ortega, where he landed 290 strikes.
Yeah, so it's like the guy's in his own league. And then when it's like, well, man, I mean, he's lost a few fights. It's like, oh, okay, well, so he's lost to Alexander Volkanovski, who's, I think, can we all agree he's the greatest 145-pound champ of all time? Right?
Feels
Like
that way.
Volkanovski thrashes McGregor at his best, and Volkanovski's proven that he's just the best. He really is. So losing him twice, not a big deal. When you consider how close the second fight was, a lot of people were screaming robbery. A lot of people thought Max won. Great performance, especially the first 10 minutes. The fight with Dustin Poirier. Poirier fights a weight class up and is a champion, is a world-class operator, one of the best guys. So when he doesn't fight them, he has an ungodly performance against Brian Ortega. He just looked, he looked really good against Frankie, but coasted a little bit against Frankie. Still a good performance, and then looks godly against Calvin Kattar. So yeah, how could you possibly bet against him? Now at 7-1, there's no more meat on the bone. So you're right. Does he take him out? Does this thing go the distance? When you land that many strikes, I have to assume Yair is going to topple over at some point. And so I think Max Holloway does get the job done inside the distance. But I kind of look at the over 3.5. You know, it's about -130, -140.
Minus
And Yair's got that.
175.
Oh, is it? Did it jump? Oh, around
People have been betting it, man. People have
Okay,
been
well,
betting
there you
it.
go. One thing with Frankie is how do you hit a guy that
There's
many
minus
times?
155s out there at some other shops.
Yeah, there you go. Well, shop around, and I just think it probably gets to those mid-stage rounds. Yeah, Rodriguez has got he's Mexican, so let's give it to him. He's got some bred into him durability that he's going to have. He has fought longer to some rounds before. And with Max Holloway, I mean, yeah, when you're hitting a guy that many times and he's not going down, it's not necessarily you don't got much pop. It's that you're one of these, I'm going to beat your ass for 3.5, 4 rounds before I eventually take you out. So the official picks, obviously Max. I think the lean would be Max inside the distance, not by submission, would be by TKO. And then I think this thing's getting over 3.5.
That seems, yeah, right in line kind of with what I think about it. All right, moving on down the card, we got Big Ben Rothwell taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. -150, Big Ben. +130, Marcos Rogerio de Lima. All right, Cody, we got a couple little things here. I see some people out there betting Marcos Rogerio de Lima because, yeah, when you watch tape on these two guys, there's a massive speed disparity. Big Ben is slow and plodding, and sometimes he kind of takes rounds off, and he moves forward really, really. Yeah, he's very, very deliberate in his approach. It isn't pretty. And, but the fact of the matter is, Marcos Rogerio de Lima, he's a quitter. When things go south for this guy, when they go south real fast, and he'll look for a way out. So maybe this fight is a better fight to bet live. Big Ben, super, super durable. Probably loses the battle of speed, eats a bunch of body kicks, eats a bunch of strikes early on. His wrestling isn't great. I think he's got a much better submission game when he does get it to the mat than Marcos Rogerio de Lima. But the last thing I'll actually kind of say to you here, Cody, is ever since UFC Fight Night 74 in 2015, Nikita Krylov, or sorry, I guess actually we'll go back to UFC Fight Night 58 versus Igor Prokhrayich. He won that fight. Takes on Krylov, loses. Takes on Clint Hester, wins. Takes on Gadzimurad Antigulov, guillotine choke, loss in the first round. Takes on Jeremy Kimball, wins that one. Comes back with a loss by Von Fluchoke to Oven St. Preux. Adam Wiczorek, win. Stefan Struve, loss. Ben Sassoli, win. Alexander Romanov, loss. Maurice Green, win. Ben Rothwell, loss. That's what's going to happen. I mean, obviously, that doesn't completely fall into play, but the guy has been switching wins and losses since 2014. And frankly, Maurice Green, I don't know if he still has a job with the promotion. Ben Sassoli definitely doesn't have a job with the promotion, just got out of prison. Adam Wiczorek, he's definitely gone.
He conked out pretty quick.
Jeremy Kimball doesn't have a job. Clint Hester doesn't have a job. Igor Prokhrayich, he doesn't have a win over anybody with a job on the roster. Ben Rothwell may have a bad round here. He's going to get the job done. I think he wins by submission round 2. There's a book out there hanging round 2 submission. Ben Rothwell 13-1. I threw a little flyer on it because that's how I feel like this fight goes. I think De Lima's going to look good early. People are going to talk themselves into this. Oh, this was the value side. It's just like, no, because this is what Marcos Rogerio De Lima always does. He'll come out looking all right, and then he fades away. I think Ben Rothwell, as this fight goes on, wears him down and probably closes out this show. So Ben Rothwell's the pick for me. What about you?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? I think a lot of the time when you bet somebody, you can 100% bet somebody and admit they're going to lose the early going. And then two good examples of that from last week was Marlon Vera, right? You could have got him as an underdog after the first round. Everybody knows Marlon Vera loses the first round. And people were hitting me up and like, you got lucky, dude. He looked like shit in the first round. Well, that was part of the plan. And Chris Curtis is the same thing. I got a couple people like, dude, he looked like shit early. It's like, what? Did you not listen to the preview? Like, he's a slow starter. So it's baked into being part of the plan. And against De Lima, yeah, losing the first 2-3 minutes is not inconceivable because, yeah, he's just going to get tired the longer this thing goes. You want to talk about odd numbers? Let's talk about this odd number. Clint Hester, 205 pounds. Antigulov, 206 pounds. Jeremy Kimball, 209.6. Alvin St. Preux, 210. Adam Wazorik, 253. Stefan Struve, 255. Ben Sassoli, 257. Alexander Romanov, 258. Maurice Green, 264 and a half. The fucking guy is big shit popping. You're going to have to write a time code so I can edit that out. He's just getting bigger and bigger, Paul. The guy was a 205er. He was a big 205er, but he was never ripped up. He was never super muscular, right? And then all of a sudden he just would botch weights to 205. So he's a heavyweight. And all of a sudden he's a 265-pound plus heavyweight. None of it is good for his endurance, in which he's never had. Now, one thing he's had is this big old, hands, man. He lands them things on you. You are in a world of trouble. Good thing for Ben Rothwell. He hasn't been finished in total,
since 2013, I believe.
Well, since 2009, isn't it? Since he fought Cain Velasquez.
He got guillotine choked in 2013 by Gabe Gonzaga.
Right, he got choked by Gabe Gonzaga. Right. Okay, well,
there you Cain, go, man. Sea-level Cain knocked him out in 2009.
Yeah, and by knockout, the referee deemed it was a TKO. But if you go back and you watch that, Ben Rothwell is livid. He's like, "What do you mean?" And the ref's like, "You weren't defending yourself." He's like, "I'm fine." It's like, holy crap. Before that, Andrea Arlovski legitimately did knock him out in affliction, beat his ass. And again, you're going back to a fight that was in 2008. His chin is cast iron. I get he's 40 years old at heavyweight. That's really not even that big of a deal breaker. But his chin is cast iron. So you're taking off De Lima's one of his biggest weapons right off the hop is that, yeah, you're going to feel the power in those first 3 minutes. It's like Rothwell will likely be fine. As far as the submission games, okay, so Gonzaga caught him with a guillotine. Gonzaga, especially in 2013, high-end BJJ black belt, one of the best grapplers in the division. You look at that, he hasn't been submitted in 8 years. So is fake BJJ black belt Marcos Rogerio De Lima going to submit him? Like, not likely. If De Lima wants to win this fight, he's going to have to settle in and win a decision. Now, you look at his last fight against Maurice Green, he did win a decision. He landed 14 significant strikes over the course of 15 minutes, okay? But the easy takedowns against Maurice Green, they're always there. He took them. He just didn't do shit. But if he wants to fight 15 minutes, that's the kind of output he's going to have. The fight that he wins before that, which would be the Adam Wazorik fight, he lands 28 significant strikes. Oh, Sassoli was a first-round knockout, right? I mean, the last time he won a decision.
My bad, yeah.
No, it's all good. We know he can get a first-round knockout. I don't think against Rothwell, but that's always been one of his weapons. It's if we think this thing's going some rounds, if he's going to have to beat Ben, he's going to have to beat him by decision. What does his decision look like? And yeah, the other one's the Adam Wazorik fight. He lands 28 significant strikes over the course of 15 minutes. So Ben Rothwell also, he shows a 70% takedown rate or something. He's given up one takedown since 2013. The Gonzaga fight, he gave up 3, right? Outside of that, Marcin Tybura took him down one singular time. That's the only time he'd been taken down in the last 7 or 8 years. So a lot of numbers play toward Ben Rothwell. The longer the fight goes, Ben's won. He's had 3 of his last 5 fights go the distance. He's had a lot of fights go the distance. He knows how to pace himself for a big guy. Durability is towards Ben Rothwell. The grappling game is towards Ben Rothwell. That 10-finger guillotine, he latches that on. You don't think Marcos Rogerio De Lima is going to topple over? And then so let's look at De Lima, for example, right? The Alexander Romanov fight. He starts off pretty good. He's landing some leg kicks. He's backing off Romanov. All of a sudden, it looks like, geez, he's a live dog here. Romanov lands one single takedown. All of a sudden, De Lima is a fish out of water. He gives up a forearm choke from half guard and goes unconscious. Like, what? No, forearm choke. Who the hell uses forearm chokes? Choked him out unconscious from half guard in the first round. Not a BJJ black belt. Ben takes him down. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. I don't think Ben will take him down. But Ben's going to look to pressure. And when you look at the Stefan Struve fight, he wins the first round against Stefan Struve, settles into his guard, does absolutely nothing, but spends the entire round on top of him. Second round starts, he's gassed. All of a sudden, Struve hits him once. He falls over. Struve gets on top and just mauls him. Submits him with an arm triangle choke in the second round. Both times, he starts off good for 2-3 minutes. As soon as he ends up on his back, he's done. In this fight, he'll start off pretty decent for 2 or 3 minutes. If Ben takes him down, it's done. If Ben doesn't take him down, here becomes path of victory number 2. Rogerio de Lima always moves forward, right? Unfortunately, there's no moving forward against Ben Rothwell, right? He's always moving forward. So de Lima's going to have to flood up his back foot, which he can't do, and is very tiring. So, yeah, I think Ben takes it. Now you've got middling heavyweights. One's 40, one's 36. It's a fairly tight line. Do you want overexposure to this fight? No, probably not. But yeah, Ben Rothwell minus 150, that's the play.
100%. All right, we got Felicia Spencer taking on Leah Letson. Felicia Spencer, a minus 310 favorite. Letson can be had 4 plus 245. What you take here?
This could be a pie shitter of sorts, or it could just be an absolute walk in the park. I think we're all expecting it to be walk in the park. Minus 310 line would suggest. We'd think that Felicia Spencer's got such a big grappling advantage in this spot that she likely goes down, takes down Leah Letson, and then will just absolutely control from top position. Here's my one issue with that theory, is that her wrestling's actually shat, and she has a reluctancy to go to her wrestling. Why are you fighting Norma Dumont from the outside? Why are you not pressuring her? Why are you not trying to take her down? And yet, in 15 full minutes of fighting Norma Dumont, she attempts effectively 0 takedown attempts. Not one. Felicia Spencer's not a striker. I think everybody knows she's not a striker. So what was the game plan? The game plan was clearly out-strike her. But why? Why not at least try to get the fight to the ground where you would you have a perceived grappling advantage? BJJ black belt, high end, heavy hips, good ground and pound. Doesn't make sense. You look at the Amanda Nunes fight, it's more forgivable. It's like, it's Amanda Nunes. She attempted to take it down 7 times, but unfortunately it's Amanda Nunes. I just got this issue where she can make this real easy. Go in there, get the takedown. Leah Letson's a big, long, high center of gravity, doesn't have good takedown defense, but she's an okay kickboxer, right? If this thing stays standing, Spencer could still win it standing by pressuring, getting in her face, making it gritty, but she's going to make it way harder than she needs to be if she doesn't look to take the fight to the ground. And that last fight against Norma Dumont, she loses a split decision. It's agitating, and I bet her that night. Very, very, very aggravating to watch somebody just throw a fight away without even attempting to get the fight back to their best position on the ground. So I'm going to take Felicia Spencer, but yeah, just a little bit worried that like Leah Letson's your underdog this week, that everybody looks so. Actually, this should be a walk in the park. It really should be. Leah Letson hasn't fought in what, like 2-3 years. She was a Danish Muay Thai, or not Danish Muay Thai. She was like a Muay Thai standout, big gal for the division. But yeah, she's effectively had one fight since 2018. It was a split decision over Julia. They call her Stolio Stinko now because she's just so awful. That's awful in the UFC.
I made up that nickname.
Yeah.
Stolio,
that's
split decision win over really Stolio Stinko is a bad look on the resume for sure.
So this should just be an absolute walk in the park for Felicia Spencer. It really should. It's that the walk in the park is take the fight to the ground. Don't just play with your food. And I'm not 100% sure she doesn't do that. So the pick is Spencer. Don't know how much I love it just quite yet.
Yeah, I'm with you on that completely. I'm not touching Letson coming off of 3-year layoff. Who knows what she's gonna look like when she shows up to this fight. All right, moving on down, we got Song Yadong taking on Julio Arce, minus 130 Yadong, plus 110 Julio Arce. Who you got?
Yeah, well, it's going to be really tight, real competitive, real close. So no matter who you go with, I think it ends up lower on the parlays just because there's going to be a lot of variance here. But I don't mind the underdog shot on Julio Arce plus 110. I mean, he's a very, very smooth operator. I think the biggest question mark for him was he had lost a close competitive split decision over Hakeem Dawodu, and then he took like 2 years off, had both of his elbows surgically repaired. So coming back, there was a little bit of talk, like he's getting a little bit older. He had both of his arms repaired. He's got a 2-year-long break. And there was people picking Andre Ewell on the basis of Yule's long, man. This guy's long. He can control the outside. He sticks the jab in your face. This is going to be a striker versus striker matchup. The long layoff for Arce might affect him. I thought he looked career best. I thought that's the best Julio Arce ever looked. And so he's one of these guys that the layoff clearly didn't hurt him. He must have been doing other stuff in the gym. He's always had very good kickboxing. I think he was a Golden Glove boxer out of New Jersey and Pennsylvania a long time ago. But I mean, good BJJ, smooth, fluid. He works out with a lot of guys that exactly similar style, similar to him. I just feel like Arce's a pretty smooth all-around fighter, right? Good striker, good grappler. That layoff proved that he made a bunch of improvements in that time off, and I expect him to continue that. When I look at this fight, I think Song Yadong has done nothing wrong. You know, they've gave him very, very tough matchups. He's hung with these tough matchups. But part of me does think at 23 years old, those savvy, gritty veterans can still pull one over on him. They can still show him a thing or two. He's a very quick starter. We have seen him slow down in a couple of his fights. Slowed down against Cody Stamann, slowed down against Marlon Vera, slowed down against Kyler Phillips. Kyler Phillips is slowing down at an accelerated rate in that one, so he kind of got away with it a little bit. And then the Casey Kinney fight last time out, I thought he fought a beautiful fight, but it's a split decision. Julio Arce is as good as those aforementioned four guys, in my opinion, and is a very good striker, technically sound. I think that this thing is going the full 15 minutes. It will be competitive. It's a dog or pass type situation. So give me that plus 110 underdog in Julio Arce.
My only concern with Arce is that typically his volume does not even compare to what Yadong is throwing out there. So hopefully he's got a game plan for that. Or, you know, I mean, what's the best? I mean, just not getting hit by Arce, staying at range and only entering the pocket when it's the best time to do so. That'll keep those numbers down too. But Song Yadong throws strikes at quite a clip when he's not getting taken down, like Cody Stamann was able to take him down 5 times. Kyler Phillips was able to take him down 3 times. That's what kept his numbers in check. But if the fight stays on the feet, he's throwing 100 plus. Arce throws like 60 to 70. That would be my only concern. But yeah, I think it's a close fight, and I'll side with you, dog or pass situation. In terms of a Tapology versus my sheet, we're a little, I guess they rejigged it since I made the cheat sheet here. So maybe we're a little bit off our regular scheduled programming here. But anyway, we'll go Thiago Moises takes on Joel Alvarez. Thiago Moises is a minus 250 favorite. Alvarez plus 210. I mean, the way that this fight kind of plays out is Joel Alvarez is a very, very sneaky grappler. He's got pretty solid submission skills. Stand-up game seems to be a work in progress. Thiago Moises, a much more finished project with a BJJ black belt. So the question becomes, how does Joel Alvarez win this fight? I know he's got a significant reach advantage, but can he really use that reach advantage? I'm not so sure. Don't love the price on Thiago Moises, but I think he kind of has Joel Alvarez, who's still kind of developing into the finished product himself. I think he kind of has him covered at all angles here. So I'm expecting Thiago Moises to kind of keep this as a slower pace type of fight. You know, pick his shots, enter the pocket when he wants to. Maybe even take him down because he's not too scared about getting submitted by Joel Alvarez. Most people are scared of it. His submission game is very, very excellent. I think Moises can kind of go wherever he wants in this fight. So I think he's a rightful favorite. Not excited about minus 250. However, what about you?
Yeah, Thiago Moises just keeps making improvements. And it's important to note he debuted in the UFC against Beneil Dariush. He's 23 years old. And so when I look at him now, he's still only 26, full-time out of American Top Team. You really see this guy making a lot of improvements and starting to come into his own. Namely, the Michael Johnson fight, he gets shit kicked in the first round. Like, holy crap, 10-8 round. But you know what? He stays with it. He stays the course. He shows that he's got a good chin. He comes back and he submits him. But not a very good performance. The Bobby Green fight, I thought he lost, as did a vast majority of people. But he took down Bobby Green when he needed to. He outstruck Bobby Green in the key moments when he needed to, which is kind of cool, right? And he gets a decision. Then the Alexander Hernandez fight. No excuses there. He beat him all 3 rounds. He looked good in the Alexander Hernandez fight. You see his striking improving a lot. You see he's very comfortable. BJJ black belt. Wrestling not bad. And then the Islam Makhachev fight. So Colby's all upset that they didn't give him that takedown over Kamaru Usman because, hey, it's a moral victory to say you took down, come on. Thiago Moises took down Islam Makhachev according to Fight Metric, right? They scored that baby a takedown. And I think, honestly, that's the key here. So Joel Alvarez has got a 0% takedown defense in the UFC. 3 guys have attempted to take him down. They all got him down the very first attempt. Daniil Biluardo attempted 2. He got 2. Joe Duffy attempted 1. He got it. Alexander Yakovlev attempted 1. He got it. Those 3 guys fell into the submission. Thiago Moises has been submitted once his entire career. Islam Makhachev, who we all know is an absolute tyrant, an absolute beast, and they took him 4 rounds. So even though Joel Alvarez is a total badass, you're not submitting a guy from your guard at the high level, right? You can submit Danilo Biluardo, who's a Bellator veteran from Italy, who's since been released. You could submit Joe Duffy, who's from an Irish over-the-hill prospect who retired right after the fight because he's like, this is over for me. And you can get Alexander Yakovlev, a Russian rapper who I believe is 37 years old and also released from the promotion. Work against those guys. Not going to work against this man. So I think the takedowns are going to be on display because he's never bothered to shore up his wrestling because he's so comfortable off his back. He's almost pulling guard. So all Moises has got to do is go out there, initiate the grappling, end up on top. And there's a very good chance he's going to be able to just stifle his top game, stay on top. If this thing is at striking range, Moises has made a lot of improvements to his game. As far as cardio goes, he can fight 3 rounds. His last fight, he was into the 4th round before he eventually lost to probably the number 1 or 2 guy in the world, right? There's a lot. And again, Moises is 26 years old and out of the best camp in the world. So I don't expect any regression from him. I just think he's going to continuously get better. But the path of victory is there, the takedown. And Moises has enough wrestling to do so. You've seen him. One, he has a recorded takedown over Islam Makhachev. Beyond that, the 2 takedowns over Bobby Green, 4 takedowns over Kurt Holloway, who's a pretty good American wrestler. He's going to have enough to go out there and take down Joel Alvarez, who again sports a 0% takedown defense. So yeah, I think that the pick's got to be Thiago Moises. I could see it going into the later rounds. I could see it going to decision, but him being able to neutralize the grappling from top position will be the key and the big difference maker. And last but not least, Alvarez is like 6'3", right? 77-inch reach. So he's got these super long limbs. He's super unorthodox, but neutralizing a guy like that, they don't get up very well. They'll throw up submission attempts, but they don't create the explosions to get back up. So Moises is not going to have to chase 5 takedowns. He'll just need 1 in every round, and then that should be it. So I got to think that his superior grappling wins the day. Don't love the price, like you're saying, but I think we're going to have to pay to play on this one.
All right. Cynthia Calvillo is a -130 favorite. Andrea KGB Lee +110. Here's the fact. I mean, Cynthia Calvillo should have a massive wrestling advantage here. She should be spamming takedowns from the get-go. And that seems to be... Lauren Murphy took her down 2 times, won a close split decision. Joanne Calderwood took her down 2 times. Montana De La Rosa took down Andrea Lee 5 times. Ashley Evans Smith 2 times. I think Calvillo's a better grappler than, honestly, all of them when she's at her best. So Roxanne Modafferi 4 times. Take her down immediately. Opening bell. And this should be a pretty easy win. Just control from top control. I know that Andrea Lee, she was able to, flip that script on Antonina Shevchenko, bad Shevchenko. But that's not really going to be the path to victory here. Calvillo, if she stands at range, she probably gets out volume. She just doesn't throw enough strikes in pretty much all of her fights. But the path is there. You lean on that wrestling, takedown. If she gets back up, take her down again. And I feel like Calvillo is the side here. Just spam takedowns, get as many takedowns as humanly possible. Probably goes 15. Maybe there's a massive grappling advantage for somebody here. But I mean, you go back to the fight against Jessica Ai, where a lot of people thought that the wrestling would maybe be a wash between the two of them. That's the performance we need from Cynthia Calvillo here. And I think -130 Cynthia Calvillo is a decent little wager. What about you?
Yeah, honestly, I would like to just say pass in this fight. Like, I got a bad gut feeling that Calvillo is actually going to end up losing this one by some fluke chance. I know, because wrestling is the path of victory we love to pursue the most. And she's got a clear path of victory here with her wrestling. Not only is she a pretty decent grappler within the division, Yeah, you mentioned Andrea Lee gives up takedowns to every one of her opponents, and that ends up being the difference maker in almost all of her fights. But keep this in mind. Her fight with Roxanne Modafferi, she outstruck her 97-60 and landed 3 takedowns of her own. A lot of people thought it was a close decision, but she lost it. The fight with Lauren Murphy, she outstruck her 104-80. A lot of people thought she won that fight. It's a close split loss. The fight with Joanne Calderwood, she actually took Calderwood down 3 times, got taken down twice. It's a split decision. I thought that was a little more clear cut for Calderwood, but they're actually all really close decisions. A lot of people thought she won some of them. 2 of them are in fact split decisions. So it's not like she's getting routed. It's that she could be winning these fights a lot easier if not for the fact that she's giving out takedowns. I just feel like Lee, it's been the same narrative every time, is that she can't wrestle. And I really do feel like she's attempting to shore that up and become a better grappler, become a better wrestler, keep these fights standing where you'd be able to use that superior volume. It's just to this point, it hasn't really materialized. So yeah, I would have to be going on a big narrative that I believe that she is actively working on those holes. But yeah, again, if she can keep the fight standing, stuff a few takedowns and keep it standing against Calvillo, she's going to have a bunch of advantages. Calvillo's 34 years old, and keep in mind, her best fights of her career were at 115 pounds, or her opponent would make 115 and she'd come in at 120 and have a 5-pound weight advantage and win. As far as being at 125 goes, she's 1-2. Jessica Andrade, I'll give you a pass on that one. Kaylin Chikagian, I'll give you a pass on that one too. Win over Jessica, that's still pretty decent. So a 1-2 record, it's not a big deal. It's just at 34, I don't know that she's an elite level wrestler. I don't know that she's added any major wrinkle to her games. And I don't know that she's going to go and shoot 5 or 6 takedowns, as much as she may come in and shoot a few takedowns. The Kaylin Chikagian fight, everybody and their mother, thank God I was on Chikagian, but everybody and their mother thought Calvillo would just have that big wrestling advantage. What happens is she comes in, she gets stuffed on like the first shot or two, and then just looks lost and just stands there and gets outpointed. I almost have a feeling that that could happen with Andrea Lee, is that she comes out here, they mix it up a little bit. Lee's going to be able to dictate the range. Lee hits harder. Lee's physically strong, just as a shitty wrestler. But if she locks up with Calvillo up against the cage, stuffs the first takedowns, creates space, starts landing on her, maybe even stuffs that second takedown, mentally, I think Lee starts to take over. So maybe you want to bet this one live. Maybe it's a better live betting opportunity. I just think it's probably going to go 15 minutes. It's probably going to be close. The 3 times that Lee's wrestling has lost her the fight, they were 2 split decisions and 1 close unanimous. So yeah, she's not ever really out of the fight. This thing's going to go 15. It's going to be close. Calvillo maybe wins, and maybe 130 is a steal, but I kind of got it chalked up closer to a dog or pass, to be honest. So I may be interested in taking a filler shot on Andrea Lee. It would be very low down the ticket, and I want to see weigh-ins as well. But as of right now, I'm going to chalk it up to a dog or pass.
Football fans, who's ready to score some free bets? Now you can when you bet on any NFL game this week with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers who bet just $1 on either team to score can win $100 in free bets. Basically just giving you $100 free in free bets. If the sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with that DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DOP. Bet $1 on either team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code DOP this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager is required. 1 per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Moving on down the card, we've got Miguel Baeza taking on Khaos Williams. This is when I said that the order was a little bit out. It's because Diakiese fight versus Deletes dropped off of the main card, dropped off of the card in general. So this has obviously been moved up to the main card now, but we've got Baeza as a -145 favorite, Khaos Williams +125, kind of a tale of two skill sets. Miguel Baeza, very, very clean, crisp striker, very technical in his approach. And Khaos Williams, I mean, all of his success comes from just knocking fools out, which we have seen the end of that. The death touch that he has had has not shown up in a couple fights now, and he looks, he looks average. He looks human at this point. It was a decent performance against Semmelsberger to get to right the ship after losing to Michel Pereira, but yeah, I mean, Baeza I have seen, and that's why I think I ended up losing money fading him against Matt Brown, because I had seen him get a little bit rocked in some of his other fights before, and was hoping Matt Brown would be the man to put him out of his misery. That did not happen. Second round TKO, Matt Brown goes down. But yeah, I mean, Baeza probably wins the volume here. Does his chin get cracked? Probably not. I'm gonna go with the younger. I guess, is he younger? Maybe not. 92, 90. No. Khaos Williams is younger. So yeah, Baeza's a finished product. I always kind of assume that he's younger than he is. He's already 29 years old at this point. I think the volume will lean towards Baeza here. I have seen that chin kind of checked in some of his other fights. So do we see the return of Khaos Williams in that death touch? Perhaps. Not a fight I have extreme confidence about. Do you?
Yeah, no, I don't think you can have extreme confidence. Even though Khaos Williams' big power hasn't shown up in his last couple fights, it doesn't mean he doesn't got big power. And he's got really fast hands too. I think that really does complement the fact that he does got the knockout punch, is that he can land left, right, bum, bum, two-piece combination, and hope one of them flatlines you. So when you look at Miguel Baeza, his fight on Dana White's Contender Series against Victor Reina, he didn't look all that good, right? He gets a softball against Hector Aldana. The Matt Brown fight, they have no recorded knockdown for Matt Brown, but Matt Brown had him absolutely on skates. And then the Santiago Ponzinibbio fight, no recorded knockdown, but he had him absolutely on skates. So, yeah, I think if Khaos Williams lands, he could definitely hurt him. You mentioned at 29 years old, you thought Miguel Baeza was more of a finished product. And so that's where I will disagree. I think Miguel Baeza has lots of room for growth, and I think him losing to Santiago Ponzinibbio, best thing for him. Why? Because at 10-0, you needed to get a gut check. You need to be in a tough fight. You need to get extended. You need to see what you were made out of. He didn't look terrible against Santiago Ponzinibbio. What did happen, though, is the fight went the distance. And him versus Takashi Sato, second round finish. Him versus Matt Brown, he knocks him out 18 seconds into the second. Him versus Victor Aldani, takes him out in the second. He's been having his way. And at 10-0, you're feeling good. You're fighting low-level competition. Santiago Ponzinibbio's got key victories within the division. At one point, he was ranked as high as like number 7 at 170 pounds. The guy's extremely talented. He's one of the better veterans in the game at welterweight, I suppose. And he's out of American Top Team, the best gym in the world. He posed a ton of problems. I thought Baeza looked good early. The thing is that Ponzinibbio is so experienced. He rallied late. He took him into deep waters, and he ended up winning the fight. But Ponzinibbio's lead leg was chewed up. And I love that about Baeza. Low calf kick for days just really starts to freeze you up. You see it also in the Ponzinibbio fight that he's extended. He's tired, but he's still throwing. He lands 104 significant strikes. That's all good. He was forced to go 15 minutes. He loses for the first time. Back to MMA Masters, back to work on your game. I think that there's going to be a lot of improvements out of him. Khaos Williams, one thing about him is he's a tad bit stationary, and he's a little bit heavy on his lead foot. So that low calf kick is going to be there all day long. Baeza minds his P's and Q's, stays to the outside. I think he's going to be a little bit faster just with his footwork, and then he's just got to be in and out, kick the leg, get out again. Let Khaos Williams be the one to have to get aggressive. Let him be the one that has to come forward. Because what we saw in the Michel Pereira fight was he worried too much about Pereira's power. He got gun shy. He didn't throw anything. It was a terrible fight. The fight with Semmelsberger. So if you just want to look at it for the numbers, he outstrikes Semmelsberger 91-64. He wins a unanimous decision. All judges, they agreed. And the fans likely agreed too. But Semmelsberger was in a good go with him, man. He was landing little touch shots. Semmelsberger was actually sitting down and starting to get to him. The later the fight was going, Semmelsberger starts to have his way. And the third round is definitely the best round for Semmelsberger. So I feel like if Baeza just minds his P's and Q's early, chops the lead leg, takes him into that second, third round, if it's 1-1 going into the third, Baeza pulls through, gets the victory. I am definitely worried about the power from Khaos Williams, but I feel like Miguel Baeza, coming off his first career loss, will have reassessed things, better version of himself, better cardio, and good game plan, gets the victory.
All right, Sean Woodson takes on Collin Anglin. Sean Woodson, a minus 335 favorite. Collin Anglin can be had for plus 260. Woodson minus 335, eh? Is this top ticket material for you? Because this is more your type of, like, there's no way I am touching this guy at minus 335. I just don't really see it. I know he's got super freakishly long arms for the division. He's he's large. He's got an 8-inch reach advantage in this spot. Anglin didn't look great. He obviously took a thrashing against Melsik Bagdasaryan in round 2 there. But he showed that he's pretty durable. I just think he just ate way too many shots. Woodson at minus 335. I mean, this entire card, I'm a little bit unsure about where to actually place my money this week, but Woodson minus 335 is not a shot I'll be taking. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I think this week's a lot different from last week, where you got a little higher caliber of fighter and people that you could really trust. Even though they're the 3-1 favorites, they're probably going to go take care of business for you. 2-1 favorites probably going to take care of business for you. Here, you're looking at your big favorites on the card. It's like, I don't necessarily agree with a bunch of them. Felicia Spencer is not above shitting in an apple pie. Drops you down to Sean Woodson. It's like, how much faith can you have on Woodson, a guy that is primarily just a boxer? He lets his hands go. He doesn't throw a ton of kicks. It's mostly just a lot of feints, a lot of uppercuts, a lot of jabs. And he's got an 8-inch reach advantage in the spot. He normally has about a 6 to 8-inch reach advantage in a lot of the spots. So even though it's a deadly weapon and he uses it effectively, it's not something that other guys haven't seen. I suppose the one worry from let's go all in on a Sean Woodson is that Collin Anglin wrestled collegiately at Michigan State University. So, I mean, he is a decent enough wrestler. You see him use his wrestling in pretty much all of his fights. And then the Melsik Bagdasaryan fight, he gets knocked out by a head kick before he really gets going. But I suppose with Woodson, he throws a ton of volume. He has almost no, this is going to sound ridiculous, he has almost no knockout power. He knocked out Terrence McKinney with a flying knee. But outside of that, if you look at his record, he does show just a ton of decisions. And he'll hit you 150 times. The opponent doesn't go down. The more he throws, though, the more he gets tired. The more he gets tired, the more he gets sloppy. The more he gets sloppy, Yusuf Zalal took him down. Julian Erosa took him down. I could see Collin Anglin having decent cardio, just letting this guy punch himself out a little bit and then scoring with the takedowns, grinding him up against the cage, trying to neutralize him, disrupt his balance, and maybe grinding some points out. You could see it. The one thing I'll give Sean Woodson, though, he's out of Glory MMA and Fitness in Kansas, and like they just got a ton of grinders in the gym. So I would say he's another guy like Miguel Baeza, or he's another guy like Andrea Lee, where you know what the flaw is and you're in the type of room, you're young enough in the type of room that you could be improving in this one area. James Krause is excellent at coming out with these brilliant game plans, and no doubt they're going to have Sean Woodson ready for wrestlers. And theoretically, Yusuf Zalal presented the exact same threats. You saw him do a decent job in that fight, get taken down, but immediately get back up and then eventually outpoint him. With Anglin, he doesn't seem super comfortable standing. If he were such a good wrestler, why would you have not taken down Melsik Bagdasaryan? What the hell was the game plan there? You want to hang out in the feet with him? Like, come on. So, yeah, if he doesn't take down Woodson, he's getting beat up. And even if he does take Woodson down, Terrence McKinney took him down, Woodson got back up. Julian Erosa took him down the early portions. He would just get back up. Yusuf Zalal took him down. He just got back up. I got to feel like he's in the type of room where he knows I get taken down in practice all the time. I get back up. And with those legs, man, it's very difficult to continuously be taking him down, disrupting his balance, because it doesn't take much for him to just get one foot in, stand back up again. Now all of a sudden you got to chase the hips. Type of grinding style. I'm going to take Woodson. You know me. I'm a big Woodson fan. I pretty much always back him. It's just it's always so sweaty, man. It's always so greasy, man. It's not exactly comfortable sitting there being like, yeah, we got it. It's like, oh, son of a bitch. And hopefully he pulls it off. So I got him winning here, but I don't love it. And I'm not going to put him overly high just because of the 3-1 price tag.
I would say be careful too, because obviously in the fight with Julian Erosa, he came in at 149, missed weight, gets subbed in round 3, looked super gassed in round 3. So if he comes, I mean, he's 6'2" and he fights at featherweight. It's like he's obviously cutting in an absurd amount of weight. So if he looks really drained, if he comes in and he misses, particularly if he comes in at like 147, because that means that that they really tried. I mean, anything over 149, and I imagine they probably just called the fight anyway. So Yeah, I would say before laying the wood with somebody like Woodson, make sure that you check out the weigh-ins, because he has missed before, and it was a sign that maybe he's not going to have cardio in round 3. And if it's a guy who doesn't have too much like game-changing power in his hands, I mean, he's going to need that cardio to go the full 3 rounds. All right, moving on down, we got Courtney Casey taking on Liana Jojua. Casey minus 235, Jojua plus 190. Courtney Casey 9-9. Well, she's fought kind of all of the best of the best. Here's the thing about Liana Jojua. Obviously, she's got a bit of a grappling. I wouldn't even say advantage, but grappling is her go-to. She gets most of her wins with arm bars from guard. The stand-up game looks very, very much like a work in progress. She basically blocks punches with her face. Last fight was over a year ago, so maybe, just maybe, she's putting in the work, making improvements. But I think she gets a vet lesson here. Courtney Casey hasn't looked great in a while, but her skill set overall is far advanced to what I've seen from Jojua. Maybe Jojua all of a sudden has like a double leg takedown and is able to do some work from top. But until I've seen it, I can't bet it. So Casey gets the win. I never want to bet Courtney Casey at minus 235, but I think she's got her outgunned everywhere here. What about you?
Yeah, well, see, there's the $1 million thing. You can get a 9-9 fighter, and she's only the price tag of a minus 235 favorite. So it's like, you're not betting Courtney Casey because you think Courtney Casey's a superior fighter. You're betting against Jojua. You think Jojua is no good, and that's the reason. Yeah, I would probably agree with that assessment. Like, the one thing that would have had me a little bit nervous was the other day when the UFC put her and she's next to Merab Dvalishvili. I was like, oh shit. But they were supporting that guy who Merab said was a better wrestler than him, couldn't complete a single takedown. So I'm not worried that she's made these crazy improvements. I don't know. She's not even training with Merab Dvalishvili. She's at a Syndicate MMA now. Yeah, okay, so here's the $1 million problem, right? We'll just talk about her last 3 fights. She loses to Sarah Moras, TKO'd. Woof. Friends don't let friends bet on people who have lost with Sarah Moras, let alone got TKO'd. The Diana Belbita fight, she's getting lit up standing, and then Belbita shoots the takedown, and she ends up getting an armbar to guard out of it. So not really a good performance as far as I'm concerned. And then the Miranda Maverick fight, she was landing some crisp bombs, but Maverick just paid no attention, walked right through, beat on her. The cut, it seems like it's not even that bad of a cut. It just looks like the cut man looks at the corner, and they all look at each other, and they're just like, let's get out of here, right? Like, just not a very good look, and now she's been off this year. So she's still young enough that she could make improvements, but what's her game, right? It seems like she has the most success with the grappling, and she might be able to throw up an armbar or something of the like, but she comes from a Muay Thai background. She's not even really a grappler by trade. She's a striker by trade. She's just far too hittable, and all of it just makes her a big liability. Courtney Casey, meanwhile, has got like that just scrap attitude. She's a BJJ brown belt. Her grappling has let her down a time or two in the past, but I wouldn't say she's a fish out of water by any stretch. But really, the fight with JJ Aldrich, she's outstriking Aldrich. Aldrich is the one who becomes a wrestler and shoots takedowns. Jillian Robertson, she's outstriking Jillian Robertson. Robertson uses the takedowns. A lot of these fights, Angela Hill, she lands over 100 significant strikes on Angela Hill. She's fought Michelle Waterson. She landed over 100 significant strikes on Jessica Aguilar. She went the distance of Claudia Gadelia. She's been in world-class fights. She's got good volume. And beyond all that, it's that how do you beat her is take her down. Seemingly, that's been the way to defeat her, is mixing those takedowns and take her down. Jojua doesn't have a wrestling game. So it's going to be a stand-up battle. I think Courtney Casey dictates that stand-up battle. She'll be in her face. She'll be landing more volume. And if for whatever reason the fight does hit the ground, it should be on Casey's accord. Not that she'll shoot one, because she just doesn't seem to do it, but if she wanted Jojua down, it would be her decision. I don't think the path here is take Jojua down. I think it's stand up and be aggressive and stay in her face. But again, you've got someone who's 34 years old, has a 9-9 professional record, has not won a fight in almost 2 years. That fight was against Mara Barella, so take it for what it's worth. And she's a minus 235 favorite. So can you top ticket someone like that? No, you can't. Can you second ticket someone like that? Yeah, you could, but you'd feel real embarrassed if she loses and everyone's saying, how could you take Courtney Casey? It's like, well, because I thought Jojua was bad. But that mentality can get you in trouble. So Yeah, the pick will be Cortney Casey. It's just I got to figure out what the trust level is like. And of course, yeah, you want to see weigh-ins. Cortney Casey used to fight at 115. She's up at 125 now and doesn't seem to be all that physically strong. Jojua, meanwhile, seems like she's going to be the bigger, stronger girl. Has she made improvements in that year off, or is she going to be the same crappy version that we've seen in the past? Who knows, man? And all those who knows are red flags. They're unknowns, they're variances, and it just kind of doesn't really want me to have much exposure to it. It doesn't give me the confidence to have overexposure anyway.
That makes sense to me. All right, we got Marc Diakiese taking on Rafael Alves. Minus 195, Diakiese, plus 165, Alves. Who do you got?
I guess you go, yeah, I don't know. See, this is another one. I think you go to Diakiese. He's the favorite, probably the rightful favorite. If you want to talk about experience, Diakiese's got it. He's a better athlete, he's a little bit quicker. He just opened up a new gym in Europe, but he's been off for a little while. And here's the thing for me is that I thought he looked, see, again, it's difficult. I thought he looked atrocious against Rafael Fiziev. I mean, awful. He looked like a deer in the headlights, petrified, didn't want to engage him, like classes below him, and it was just a very, very overall poor performance. On the other hand, he's taking on Rafael Fiziev, who's just an absolute murderer. Looking back at the fight, it wasn't like he wasn't landing, it's that he didn't really want to commit to anything, and I think he just over-respected Rafael Fiziev. Prior to that, he's got big wins, right? Lando Venata, that's a solid victory. He lost to Jakar Close, Dan Hooker, Nasrat Hakparas, right? Some of the top guys in the division. So if you want to talk about experience, yeah, Diakiese's got it. He's going to be a little bit faster. At 155 pounds, he's the natural lightweight. Alves is a monster 45er, but, you know, not the biggest 55er going. I think he's got a lot of those advantages. But seeing how bad he looked his last time out, the year-long layoff, opening up his own gym where he's essentially one of his own head coaches now, none of that really bodes confidence. Alves, meanwhile, he's crazy, man. He goes out there and he just explodes into techniques, right? Gives it 100% effort and then sits back and coasts for his next opportunity to explode. So the guy he knocked down Damir Ismagulov. That's no easy task. But what you see is that he doesn't follow on anything. He doesn't put really any type of volume together. And in the end, he lands 30 strikes over the course of 15 minutes. It's just not enough. Even the fight on Contender Series against Alejandro Flores, he had landed 16 significant strikes more than halfway through the fight. So he's not a big volume guy. And I think that kind of volume is going to allow him to fall behind on guys that are just going to stay to the outside and pick away at him and point away at him. And that's what Diakiese's going to do. He's got the better footwork. He's a little bit faster. He's a little bit quicker. I think he's a little bit longer. And I think he's just going to stay to the outside, use his jab, use the low calf kick and move out of the way. It's not that Alves couldn't win this fight. It's that Alves is not going to fight a full 15 minutes, whereas Diakiese will. And I think that eventually is going to be the difference maker. So got to go with the Bone Crusher to get back on track. I just don't really know what his ceiling is at this point, unless he comes out here and puts on an awesome performance. And for Alves, he was one of those like he's not a cheater, right? But he's one of they call it weight bullies in boxing. Not that that's a real thing, right? But he was a Brazilian weight bully. You know, like his biggest advantage was he was the biggest 145 pounder you've ever seen in your life, which has resulted to him coming into the UFC. And he missed weight this first time out by like 10 pounds, didn't he? He was supposed to fight Diakiese. He withdrew.
No, he fought Damir Ismagulov, and he came in at 145.
Right, it was the Pat Sabatini fight. So he signed on to fight Pat Sabatini, and he missed weight by 10 pounds.
Yeah, and they were like, we're not going to do that
and moved
fight.
him up. Yeah, and they were so mad. They was like, what the hell? They're like, you know what you get? You get to go to 50 fight and fight Damir Ismagulov is what you get. That's just like punishment. And he loses the fight. But Ismagulov is so precise. Very high ring IQ, but similar to Magomed Ankalaev, he's not the most exciting guy because he just dictates the range, dictates the action. But you saw how Alves, for somebody who's not just going to have a brawl with him, for somebody who's not just going to fall into his traps, he does just do a little too much sitting and waiting. I think Diakiese, not as good as Ismagulov, but he'll fight a similar game plan from the outside, and it should yield results. So I got Diakiese here. And it's early enough in the card that I probably will have him a little higher than I should. Because if something was to go wrong, you know, you can build back up. I don't want to rebuild. I really don't. But let's be honest. This is not last week's card. This isn't the card that we had in Abu Dhabi, right?
Yeah.
People want to say, oh, man, you had an awesome card last week. You got one wrong. Shit, the week before, we only got two wrong, right? Well, we got Jan Blachowicz and we got terrible little Brazilian grappler. Well, not terrible. She gassed out so goddamn early. Doesn't matter, right? You get two wrong, right? It's all about the order, the placement. So Diakiese, he's one of the safer picks on this card. 9-9 Cortney Casey, Sean Woodson, who's been prone against grapplers and gassing late and too big of a favorite. Cynthia Calvillo, I don't trust her at all. Thiago Moises I like, but we're going to have to overplay. Song Yadong, Julio, Arce. Dude, you're right. Yadong's going to have the volume. I'm hoping Arce lands the cleaner shots, but it all comes down to what 2 of the 3 judges are looking at, not what I think. Baeza versus Williams. Baeza's playing with fire, man. 100% he is. Got to mind in P's and Q's. Felicia Spencer, non-existent ring IQ. Ben Rothwell, it's a 40-year-old heavyweight. Max Holloway, he's an 8-1 favorite. There's no meat on the bone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're going to have to take a shot on one of these guys, and unfortunately, Diakiese might be him.
Well, maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel here. We got Da Jung taking on Kennedy Njoku, -120, Da Jung, +100 Njoku. I mean, I tried to fade Njoku against Danilo Marquez last time out, and I mean, in credit where credit's due, he fought off the hands. He was like back triangled for like all of round 1. Round 2 was taken down, and then Marquez was cooked and died in 20 seconds into round 3. I had played Marquez straight. I had played him by submission. So credit where credit's due. Kennedy had put in the work. He put in the time. He had figured out, what's this guy's only path to victory for me. Da Jung cost me money. I think I bet William Knight against him. So both of these guys have cost me money trying to fade them. Now they fight against each other. I've got to pick a winner. I thought what Da Jung was able to do to William Knight was pretty impressive, though. It was just that body lock trip takedown over and over. Did it 8 times, secured a bunch of top control, didn't land too many strikes, didn't have to because he was able to get that control. Darko Stosic was able to take down Kennedy Njoku 4 times. I'm going to lean towards Da Jung here to get the job done. But I think we did see improvements in Kennedy Njoku's game last time out, that if he does get to the ground, Danilo Marquez is a great grappler. If he does get to the ground, he's going to fight to get back to his feet, and he's going to deliver, tough shots and utilize that range that he's got, 83-inch reach, when he's up on the feet. He showed that he can be losing, and he's never going to quit on himself. So that is pretty, it's good for him, and it's good for, his future in this sport. I'm going to lean towards the wrestler. You know me, I always do. And Da Jung's going to get enough takedowns to secure that control and get the W over Kennedy Njoku. What do you think here?
You know what? I could see it. I feel like I want to take the dog shot. I feel like it's +100, so it's not a huge underdog shot. I think the narrative here is that Kennedy Njoku can't wrestle. We saw that in his last fight, and that Da Jung can wrestle because he scored 8 takedowns. So let's dissect the first part with Da Jung, right? Da Jung scored the 8 takedowns over William Knight. Those 8 takedowns were largely the outside trip, as you mentioned. But he didn't really have great top controls. William Knight just kept getting back up, which is why he needed 8 takedowns. That's not a great sign. William Knight's not particularly great off his back to begin with, and he was using the same takedown repeatedly. Now, keep this in mind. William Knight stands approximately 5'10" and has a 73-inch reach. So he's 6 inches shorter than Kennedy Njoku and has a 12-inch reach disadvantage in compared to Ken. Kenny has an 85-inch reach and stands 6'5", right? William Knight's 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. So that's extremely problematic as far as I'm concerned. Getting those same outside trips against Kennedy and not going to be as easy. Now, people keep wanting to talk about the William Knight fight. Well, why don't we talk about the Sam Alvey fight? He looked awful against Sam Alvey, Paul. Awful.
That's why I bet William Knight.
He got punched. Yeah, of course. So did I, because he looked so bad. What I didn't know was that William Knight could fucking stop an outside trip. There's my second F-bomb. Please catch that one for me. How was I supposed to know he could stop an outside trip?
4, I'm told. There's been 4 F-bombs. Or maybe...
I'm getting fired up.
Maybe a couple S-bombs.
Yeah, S-bombs, and I think there was a B-bomb in there. But the F-bombs, I think, is the only one that TV people care about.
A female dog.
Yeah, exactly, right? So this is the crazy thing, is that he gets outstruck by Sam Alvey. He lost the first 2 rounds in everybody's eyes. Media scores. Couchside judges, 29-28 Alvey. SureDog.com, Alvey. All 3 guys from SureDog, Alvey. Sorry, there's 4 guys from SureDog, all Alvey. Mania, Alvey. BJPen.com, Alvey. Wrestling Observer, Alvey. The Body Lock MMA, Alvey. Combat Press, Alvey. Another sure dog, Alvy, thescore.com, Alvy, cage side press, thebodylock.com, combat side press, post wrestling. Shout out to John Pollock. Fightful.com. All have this thing, Alvy. Junkie has it a draw. Dwayne Fox has it a draw from Bloody Elbow. Severe MMA has it. One guy scores the fight for Jung. So consensus, fans thought Alvy won. Media thought Alvy won. And for whatever reason, Jung lands. He knocked down Alvy in the third. And that got him the 10-8. That saved him. He was in a fight to the death, down 2 rounds against Sam Alvey. This is bad news, man. And then so what? He took down William Knight 8 times. William Knight's tiny for this weight class. Not saying it's not impressive. I just don't know if it's enough. So now let's talk about Kennedy real quick. So Kennedy, he beats Darko, and then he takes 2 full years off, over 2.5 years off. Carlos Ulberg, who's Izzy Adesanya's buddy, right? He's a male model down in New Zealand. He's like a local celebrity or something like that. They handpick Kennedy. Kennedy's, what was he, like a 3-1 underdog? 2-1 underdog against Carlos Ulberg. He's expected to lose. And it looked like he made a lot of improvements. He got rocked early, stayed with it, chin stayed up, cardio looked improved, and the guy's got some serious volume standing. Next fight against Daniel Marquez, yeah, he gets taken down early. He remains composed. Cardio checks out, takes him out late. Da Eun Jung is going to have the same problem. When you look at Da Eun Jung, especially by the numbers, his fight with William Knight, he landed 28 significant strikes over 15. His fight with Sam Alvey, he landed 56 over the course of 15. He's a low volume guy. When you look at Kennedy easily can go 100 significant strikes all day if you're willing to stand up to him. And he will. Da Eun Jung will try to take him down. It's going to prove to be a lot more difficult taking on this monster of a man who's at Fortis MMA, where he's rapidly improving. Now, I don't want to be the guy that brings up this like Nigerian wave of MMA fighters, but what you do is you have guys that were very green and very raw, and now they're improving very quickly because they're great athletes. They've got freakish body types, 6'5", 83-inch reach, man. It is only a matter of time before this guy starts to put it together, and I see that he is putting it together. I like these guys that can drop a round or two and come back because they know what they got to do. It's just taking them a little while to get going. And eventually things are all going to line up and he will be a problem. Guy is 29 years old. He's been fighting professional for less than 5 years. I think this is a legitimate prospect. He's just got to put it together. These 3-fight winning streak, he's feeling confident. He's feeling himself. He's got the volume. Just got to keep it standing for long enough. If you told me Da Eun Jung was the favorite, I would go with the narrative of, well, the takedowns and maybe if you're going to give me Kenny as the underdog, I'm going to have to it's another dog or pass situation. I think he's got the superior volume. And if he can use that size to keep this fight standing a little bit, he'll have some good. Sam Alvey almost beat this guy, man. Come on. We got to keep that in mind here. So dog or pass to end things, or depending on your perspective, to kick things off. First fight of the card.
All right. I don't even have any bets this week. Coming into this, my spot right here where I usually say that I've got a bet. I saw DraftKings finally release their props. Rothwell by sub is plus 500. The rest of the markets moved to like plus 300, plus 350. So if you're listening right now, I would go and hit the plus 500 that I see. It opened up at plus 550, but it looks like action's already coming in. So by the time you listen to this, it's probably plus 350 already, and a lot of the meat is getting taken off of the bone. But yeah, I like Rothwell. I like Rothwell to win by submission. Not necessarily that he gets takedowns. I think that Marcos Rogerio gets tired, turns into a panic wrestler, and falls into the 5-finger, whatever the hell that's called. The thing that Rothwell does, 5-finger guillotine choke. Rothwell by sub. It's not as great as, Barnett last time. I think they were giving us something silly like 10-1. But yeah, as always, I'll post my plays on Saturday. I'm going to watch the weigh-ins, get a better feel for this card this week, because nothing's really jumping off the page, as we sit here this week as like great value, that type of thing. But after weigh-ins and Saturday morning, I'll drop my plays, as is tradition. And another tradition that we have, Cody, is for you to hit them with the PRP.
Hitting them with the PRP. So officially, we're going to go with Max Holloway, Ben Rothwell, Felicia Spencer, Julio Arce, dog number 1, Thiago Moises, Andrea Lee, dog number 2, Miguel Baeza, Sean Woodson, Cortney Casey, Marc Diakiese, and Kenny Njoku as dog number 3. So again, yeah, there's a couple dogs that are going to hit on all these cards. It's not like we're gone on any of the big ones. It's all about getting the right order. This week, obviously, Max is at the top because he's the best pick, and he happens to be the main event.
And
so
you can hedge if you really want
and
to.
it would be such an easy hedge, only because, not because we think Yair is going to win, but because of that huge plus money associated with him. It wouldn't take much.
Plus
right?
500 to get out unscathed is a pretty easy way to get out. And you don't even necessarily have to hedge for all of your earnings. You could just hedge to, it's an easy out for sure.
Yeah, if you put $100 on him to win $500, like at the very least, if you knew you're making good money at the end of the night, I know 2 weeks ago everyone's like, oh, yawn. Last week it's like, oh, I should have let it ride. Like there's never really that proper way of going about it. It's how you feel, but just you don't go 12 out of 13 on a card. Don't hit 7 of your 8 plays and lose money, right? Like you don't want to lose money when you do good. You want to break even, make sure you're breaking even, and the hedge ensures you a little bit of profit. That's always good too.
I didn't hedge.
So yeah, I think the big thing this week is going to be trying to figure out who to put with Max Holloway that you like the most. Is it a Marc Diakiese? Does that feel weird? Kind of does to me, but what are your other options? Bellator, of course, going to try to put a Bellator preview. What Cyborg doesn't have no value to anything. No. And now there's Cody Law, who's been a cash cow for us as far as Bellator picks go. But Tyrell Fortune should win. Aaron Pico should win. They're setting up Steve Mowry to win quite easily, although he's not the most trustworthy guy going. Bruna Ellen, she's shit in the apple pie once before in her career, but she should be able to win. This Mahmoud Fauzi Sebi, he's only 10-1. Lock. That guy is an absolute animal. And Jordan Newman should win as well. So, shit,
the odds
man. Bellator's got
the odds on Bellator are insane, though.
I know, but keep this in consideration. If you had a minus 2,000 Cyborg, right? And you had a Cody Law is also minus 2,000. And Mahmoud Fauzi, the guy's an absolute beast. He's minus 1,000. You don't even need to take Valerie Laredo, who's an absolute just apple pie shitter as well. You throw on Jordan Newman there, and you throw on Max Holloway. It's minus 173, right? You got Cyborg. How does she lose?
That's if you're getting minus 2,000 on it. It's minus 4,000 at DraftKings Sportsbook, and these other places that are like market movers minus 3,300.
So you just add one Aaron Pico on that bitch, and you're plus 103. What's up? So Bellator is going to be good filler this week. Of course, the potential apple pie shitters there are Valerie Laredo at minus 500. She could potentially. Steve Mowry, just because he's a big boy and he's kind of a little bit unorthodox, right? He's a minus 650. He could blow it. I could see Arlene Blenko. She's a 4-1. Pam Bam Sorensen's junkyard dog. Don't really love the idea of fading her. Tyrell Fortune, I'm going to end up betting him, although, anybody who gets punched out by Tim Elliott in the first round's not Tim Elliott. Tim Johnson. You avoid those ones. You go with the safe ones, and you add a couple UFC picks. We're going to get plus money at the very least. So hopefully tomorrow we got a Bellator preview out. Friday we got Bellator picks out. Saturday UFC picks out. But then hopefully we can do a little bit of Bellator and UFC, mix and match them together because Bellator's like, oh man, we've got 10 fighters who we would like to get a win on their record. And 10 fighters who are there to hopefully do that. Whereas the UFC's got 20 fighters they owe a contract to, like owe a fight to. They don't care who wins or loses. This card here has got very little, me, I like my storylines, my narrative. This person should win. Pereira is being set up over Michailidis for a knockout. Michailidis got 4 fights, knocked out all 4 losses, right? Like those are your storylines. Here it's mostly tight matchmaking, competitive fights. I do see a couple upsets here and there, but I want to just keep the exposure maybe a tad bit limited. So all in all, I'm Mr. Optimistic. I think that we'll be able to put the winning combinations together. If we don't, again, don't be giving all your money back. It's all about bankroll management. However, this is what we do. And at the very least, I'm here to hit you that top ticket and make sure you're going to break even as your worst case. So if I do my job, hopefully you won't lose any money. If you do your job, you bet it properly. You're not going to get banged up in a loss, and you're going to come out victorious in a win. So looking forward to my man.
Yes, sir. I mean, that parlay. So you got Mahmoud, whatever his name, Fauzi, Sebel, Christian Justino, Cyborg, Jordan Newman, Max Holloway, Cody Law, Aaron Pico, and Steve Mowry only pays plus 120.
No. Yeah, and I would drop Mowry off that.
I would say,
that. Yeah, I would say if something, because I got all those guys minus Marine. It's
minus
slightly
minus
money.
109.
Okay, yeah, depending on the price of
Depending on the
Cyborg,
book,
I guess,
of course.
yeah.
But at DraftKings Sportsbook. So it's just a lot. It's a lot of work to get a minus 109. That's why I don't love. That's why I loved your parlays last week, because you had Justin Gaethje. I like when I play the parlays. I like to gamble, and yeah, I'm team no hedge. I didn't hedge on Jan. I didn't hedge this week either.
Well, there you
team
go.
no hedge. I played to win the game, but everybody's risk tolerance is different. If you need that, I mean, I would have been hedging. If Ally Aquinta had won, I would have been hedging on Colby Covington. Why? Because the amount of money that was going to be won, it would have warranted, I would have probably had a heart attack. But he didn't. So, it's all about your personal situation. Yeah. So when people are, I see people sometimes reaching out to you oh my God, I can't believe he shat in the pie or whatever. It's just it comes down to your decision, as you always say on Twitter. It comes down to your decision at the end of the day.
I used to be a little hard on myself. I'd be like, man, I told people this guy was going to win and he lost. And now some people are upset about it. This is not a shot at you, by the way. I know you might take it that way. Seeing the Buffalo Bills lose on the weekend, was there anybody on the planet that picked Jacksonville? No, probably not, right? Would one person, not a Jacksonville resident, have picked Jacksonville? Is that even plausible? How the hell they lose? Probably in Jacksonville. So the best NFL analysts in the world, these guys get paid, they got these fancy desk jobs and they got a 3-piece suit and they're clean cut. They got a makeup person before the show starts. Internet connection doesn't get wonky, causing them to lose resolution. These guys, way off, right? It just happens. It's a football game. Anything can happen. This is a fight. Anything can and will happen. So Murphy's Law is wild and is running. The last little gem I'll leave you with then, if you want to be like Paul, you want to throw a saddle on a pony and get to ride, and then you go with your Cyborg, Law, Sebi, Newman, Pico. UFC, you go Holloway, Rothwell, Moises, Diakiese. That's hitting you at a 6-1. Who wouldn't be happy with a 6-1? There we go. Right
now we're talking. That's what we bring you in for, the 6-1 parlays. Now you said it so fast, I'll have to, in post, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to bet that. Anyway, that's it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody Saftic and producer Matt, I'm Paul, saying goodbye and good luck. Oh.